To see the world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wild flower. 一沙一世界，一花一天堂。Hello everyone! In the previous part, we've discussed the forms of poetry, and from now on, we'll focus on the content. In this part, we'll compare Chinese and Western poetry from the perspective of literature. No matter in China or in the West, literature has always been one of the favorite subjects for poets. Poetry on literature accounts for large proportion in Chinese classic poems, and there are a group of poets called pastoral or landscape poets, writing numerous works on nature. Similarly, many Western poets tend to choose nature as their favorite subjects. Among them is Robert Frost. Here's his famous Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
The Chinese version is:
想来，我认识这座森林，林主的庄宅就在邻村，却不会见我在此驻马，看他林中积雪的美景。我的小马一定颇惊讶，四望不见有什么农家，偏是一年最暗的黄昏。寒林和冰湖之间停下，他摇一摇身上的串铃，问我这地方该不该停。此外，只有清风拂雪片，再也听不见其他声音。森林又暗又深，真可羡。但我还要守一些诺言，还要赶多少路才安眠？还要赶多少路才安眠？
A good comparison of this poem is 冯雪宿芙蓉山主人 written by 刘长卿。日暮苍山远，天寒百屋贫。柴门闻犬吠，风雪夜归人。
冯雪宿芙蓉山主人，作者刘长卿。日暮苍山远，天寒白屋贫。柴门闻犬吠，风雪夜归人。夜幕降临，连绵的山峦在苍茫的夜色中变得更加深远。天气寒冷，使这所简陋的茅屋显得更加清贫。半夜里，一阵犬吠声把我惊醒。 原来是有人冒着风雪回家门。
A winter scene. At sunset, the hillside village still seems far. Cold and deserted the thatched cottages are. At Wicket Gate, a dog is heard to bark. With wind and snow, I come back when night is dark. At the first glance, the similarities are quite obvious. Stopping by the Woods has 4 stanzas. Each stanza embodies 4 lions, which is the most common form in Eastern and Western poetry. The rhyme of stopping by the woods is quite regular. The first stanza rhymes "o", the second rhymes "ear", the third is "ache", and the rhyme of the last stanza is "eep". Thus, the poem reads quite musical. The Chinese poem is more concise with only 4 lines, which is the typical form of classic Chinese poetry. The images in the 2 poems also overlap a lot, such as snow, farmhouse, ducklings, animals. One is a little horse, the other is a dog, and pervasive loneliness. If we study more closely, we may find some differences which reflect 2 different cultures. In Stopping by the Woods, the poet is optimistic about the future. Although it's the darkest night of the year, he still has promised to keep before he sleeps. The core of the poem is go, miles to go out. There's no trace of family in the poem, and the poet doesn't care too much about family. So in this poem, the narrator is going out instead of going back home. The relationship with nature in the poem is quite harmonious. The pony is lovely, the woods is amiable. The poet feels comfortable on his way to keep a promise in the darkest night. In Liu Changqing's poem, there is a similar winter scene. Snow, dark, shabby house. But when Liu describes the sunset light, he means the end of life or the end of his career. We can easily sense the pessimistic, melancholy mood in it. And the only comfort is go back home. Because Chinese culture regards family as the most important thing under the influence of Confucianism. From the poem, we can see clearly 2 different ways while facing darkness. The Western culture calls on people to go out, while in Chinese culture, people choose to cocoon in one's own home. One is extroverted, and the other is introverted. Gui, go back home, is a key word for us to understand the poem. Although the first 3 lines are about nature, such as sunset, mountain, cold light, shabby house, barking dog, they are only background for introducing the last line, 风雪夜归人. Actually, what really matters is the returning man, not the nature. Now, let's review what we have learned in this part. Chinese and Western nature poetry share a lot of similarities in images choosing, rhyme, and stanza. But the connotations differ a lot, which reflect different perspectives on ethics, attitudes to life, and family, and the relationship with nature. Here are 2 questions for you to think about. first one. What are the similarities for Chinese and Western pastoral poets to describe nature? There are a lot of similarities in the form, such as the use of rhyme, the choices of images from nature, usually flowers, animals, mountains, or rivers. Both Chinese and Western pastoral poets have the eyes to detect the beauty of nature and put it in poems with great skill. Second question, what is the difference behind lines and what caused it? Chinese nature poems usually reveal the thought that since nature is so beautiful, why don't we put down all the worldly success and ambition and just return to nature? While the Western poets only disclose the beauty of nature and call on people to explore more about it. Different cultures attribute to the differences. Chinese Confucianism ethics value family and regards nature as man's home and focus on a harmonious relationship with nature. While Western Christian culture treats nature as a gift from God, and man is the master